My boyfriend's new coworker texted, "Miss you already." Then he told me I made it weird. I ended things with my boyfriend because of his new female friend at work. Not because I was jealous, not because I hated him having friends. I ended it because I watched him change for her, and every time I noticed, he made me feel crazy. We had been together almost 3 years. When he got a new job in January, I was happy for him. He came home tired at first, then he started coming home wired. I thought the job was going well. Then I realized every good part of his day had her name attached to it. Her name was Paige. Paige made a joke in a meeting. Paige knew the old band he loved. Paige sent him a podcast. I smiled through it because people make work friends. I trusted him, but soon her name was in everything. If I asked about lunch, Paige had picked the place. If I asked about work, Paige had said something clever. One night I said, "You talk about her a lot." He grinned and said, "You'd love her if you met her." That was the first time my stomach dropped. He didn't sound guilty. He sounded excited. Then the late nights started. The first one was a deadline. Fine. The second one was another project. The third time, I texted at 8 and asked if he was okay. He replied, "Still here. Might be another hour. Love you." The next morning, I asked how the whole team was handling the extra work. He paused, then said, "It's mostly me and Paige. The others aren't really involved." It wasn't a team thing. It was them, staying late together. A few nights later, my phone was dead, so I picked up his to check the time. A message lit up from Paige. "Miss you already." I held it out and asked, "What is this?" He smiled and said, "That's just how she talks. She's affectionate." I asked, "If a guy from my job texted me that, would you be fine?" His smile faded. He said it was different. I asked how. He said I was making something out of nothing, and he was too tired for this. Then he went to bed, leaving me with no answer. After that, I hated how much I watched him. If I walked in while he was texting, the screen went dark. When I asked if anything was going on, he sighed, like I had ruined the night. He said Paige was the only one there who understood the pressure. I was his girlfriend, but somehow she had become the person who understood him. Then his sister called about his birthday plans. She said, "It was nice seeing him at dinner last week. I figured you'd be there too." I went quiet. She said a few people from his work met downtown. I asked who went. She listed names, then said Paige. I checked the calendar. That dinner was on Wednesday, the same night he came home at 10:30 and said work ran late. I hung up and sat on the kitchen floor. Now it wasn't a feeling. It was a lie. When he got home, I didn't yell. I said, "Your sister mentioned the dinner downtown." His face changed. I asked, "Why didn't you tell me Paige was there?" He said, "Because I knew you'd make it weird." That hit harder than anything. He hadn't forgotten. He had chosen not to tell me because lying was easier. I asked, "So you lied because you didn't want my reaction?" He said, "I didn't lie. I just didn't mention it." I said, "You told me work ran late." He snapped that it still counted, then said I was twisting his words. I asked if there was anything between them. He threw his hands up and said, "I'm allowed to have friends." I said, "I never said he wasn't." He said I had been suffocating him and making him walk on eggshells. I stared at him because I had brought Paige up twice in 3 months. Twice. I had swallowed every other question because I didn't want to seem jealous. I had sat beside him while he laughed at his phone and pretended it didn't bother me. And now he was acting like my hurt was the problem. I said, "You chose hiding things over being honest with me." He rolled his eyes and said, "Here we go." Something in me went still. I walked into the bedroom and closed the door. He knocked and said, "Are we seriously doing this?" I didn't answer. The next morning, while he was at work, I packed a bag. I took my clothes, charger, documents, and the necklace my mom gave me. I left his key on the table with a note saying I couldn't keep being made to feel crazy for noticing the truth. Then I walked out and closed the door behind me. He called before I reached my friend's apartment. The texts came right after. "Please come back. This isn't what it looks like. You're overreacting." Not one message said he was sorry for lying. I turned off my phone and knocked on my friend's door.